Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's been a very long day and I'm tired and I'm hungry, which isn't a good combination. So I'm going to make something that is easy but actually really hearty and will provide a lot of yummy leftovers, because I suspect the rest of the week is going to be like this too. Today I'm going to make a vegetable lentil stew. It's really easy. The vegetables I use in here are just the ones that I prefer and have in my fridge and cupboards. You can use whatever you want. I'm even using tinned lentils versus cooking mine from dry, which you obviously can do and I do. Let me show you what the ingredients are and then let's get started making this, because I am getting hungry and I really want to eat. Okay folks, here's what we're going to need for our recipe today. We're going to need some oil. I'm going to use olive oil, a can of diced tomatoes. These ones have some Italian seasonings in them. If you buy some that have some seasonings in, it just helps the process. I'm going to use this tin of green lentils. Green or brown is what you want. You don't want to use red or I think even yellow, because they get quite mushy. And in this recipe we want some texture to the lentils. So this is a 540 milliliter tin of that. This is a large tin of diced tomatoes, almost 800 milliliters, or 2 small cans. Some veggie bouillon, some minced garlic or a couple of cloves of garlic that you're going to mince, some Italian seasoning, some onion powder, sweet paprika, salt and pepper to taste, a little bit of low sodium soy sauce or tamari if that's what you have, and a little bit of maple syrup, and some tomato paste. And then for the veggies, I'm going to use a cup of green peas. I have a red pepper in my fridge right now. It'd be either red or green that I would want to use for this recipe. 3 medium, smallish sized potatoes. 1 small onion. I happen to have a huge onion, so I'm going to use half of that, and 3 medium-sized carrots. That's all you're going to need for the recipe, and then you're just going to want a soup pot to make everything in. As always, I will put the full recipe down below in the description notes. But the first thing we're going to do is chop our onion and get that started sauteing with the garlic in the pot. So that's what I'm going to do first. Now that I've got that, I'm just going to heat some oil up in my pot and add the onions and the garlic. And add 2 tablespoons of olive oil to your pan. I'm not measuring. You don't have to make this with oil. You can easily use water to saute. In fact, I often will add a little water as I'm sauteing to just help everything sweat and get nice and soft and sweet but not burn. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of the minced garlic. So yeah, just put that on low and let that get nice and soft. In the meantime, we'll chop the rest of our veggies. I am hungry. And I apologize if you can hear that crunch. But this is such an easy recipe to make during the week, because it makes a big bunch and it doesn't take any fancy ingredients. I always keep cans of lentils in my cupboard because I don't always have the time or the patience to make them from scratch. I would recommend doing that. It's obviously much cheaper to make them from dry, but sometimes you just don't have the time to do that. And there's nothing wrong with having a few cans in your cupboard for weekday meals when you just want something fast. I'm going to add my peppers to my onions and garlic right now. And now we can start on our potatoes. Alright, so I've got all my veggies cut that need cutting. So I am going to drain and rinse my lentils. Now we're just going to assemble the soup. Okay, so the onions are nice and soft, so that's awesome. So we're going to add the rest of our ingredients right now. We're going to start with 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And you want to put this in now because you kind of want to cook the tomato paste a little bit before you add the rest of your ingredients. It, I don't know, I guess caramelizes it a bit. It just ends up giving it more flavor. I'm not going to measure this. I'm just going to eyeball it. Feel free to measure. But I just prefer to do it this way. And now I'm going to just cook that a little bit. Turn that down. And as that's doing that, we're going to add the rest of the spices. So we are basically adding 1 teaspoon of onion powder, yes, there's onions in there already, but I just like adding a little bit of extra onion powder in there. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of sweet paprika. I prefer sweet. If you have just like smoked, that works too. Whatever you've got. And 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. Okay, so now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. We're going to start with the broth. I have 3 cups of veggie broth. I will add more water or more broth if I feel like I need it. We're going to start with 3. I'm going to add my can of diced tomatoes. Do not drain them. And this will make a lot, like I said, but that's okay because it makes great leftovers, and you can actually freeze it if you want. So I'm going to turn this up a bit because we want to bring this to a boil. All right, now that that's done, I'm going to add my 1 cup of green peas. You can put them in later if you like your peas really hard or like with a lot of texture. Firm, that's the word I'm looking for, but I like to put mine in now. And then we're going to add our potatoes and carrots. And our lentils. And give that a good stir. Now we're going to add the soy sauce and the maple syrup. 2 teaspoons of soy sauce. Buy the low sodium because it's still pretty salty. More or less if you like. And 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. Now, you will not taste the maple syrup. I know that my regular viewers are shocked, absolutely shocked that I'm putting maple syrup in this. Not. But I learned this trick from the Happy Parrot. They have a YouTube channel. They're Irish brothers that cook amazing vegan food. And they are always adding maple syrup to anything that includes tomatoes because it cuts the acidity of the tomatoes and adds just a very, very slight amount of sweetness, but you do not taste it. I promise. It's only a teaspoon, so there's just no way you're going to taste that. But it does help with that. So it's a trick I learned from them and one that I have used ever since I heard it the first time. Now, I'm not going to add salt right now because the veggie bouillon has salt and the soy sauce has salt even though it's low sodium, and so does the tomato paste and the tomatoes. So, but I am going to add some pepper. And at the very end of the cooking, if I need salt, I will add some then. But don't be afraid to give it a taste right now to see how it's coming and see if you need to add anything else. That's good. So we're going to let that come to a simmer, and then I'm going to cover it and let it cook. And I'm going to do my very best. I cannot promise that I will succeed in this, but I'm going to do my very best not to snack between now and when this is done. The reason I was in the mood for a stew is because it's raining outside, and I don't know if you can hear it, but it's coming down outside. And that always makes me think of something hearty for dinner. And a stew is perfect. And like I said, I can eat this for lunch and dinner for a couple of days. So it's even better. So I will see you back here when it's done. It's been about 30 minutes and all the veggies are done. I'm gonna scoop myself out some because I'm starving, and we're gonna give this a taste test together. I love a nice thick stew, and the lentils really do give this a nice thick texture, consistency. Can you see that? Isn't that amazing? So I've just warmed up some naan on the frying pan with a little bit of olive oil and garlic salt on it to eat with this. So I'm going to grab a spoon. Wow, that's delicious. For a recipe that's this easy and this simple, this has got so much flavor. If you can buy a tin of diced tomatoes that's pre-seasoned, that adds a lot of flavor. But this is delicious, and it makes a lot. So make it for company when you can have company again. The nice thing about stew, and if you've made stew, you already know this, is that it just seems to taste better the more it sits. Let me know if you try this, and don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I'll see you next week. You obviously can do, and I do. But anyways, as always, I will put oh my God. Reassemble your onion so that you can cut it properly. That's right.